Hey guys, today I wanted to make a little video about customizing the AK. As you know, there's probably a lot of different things that you can do with your rifles to kind of enhance them. None of this stuff is going to make you a better shooter or make you more accurate. Of course, you're going to need training and practice with that, but they can take something that's pretty well built and make it a little bit more fun and easier to use. Basically enhance the features of it. Today's example, we're going to use just a lowly Romanian 1063. As long as you know what to get for, these can be quality rifles, especially post 2008. I'm sure you've seen the videos and heard all the reports. Make sure your sights and everything aren't canted and your gas block, and make sure the riveting is done well and they're nice and flush with the receiver. And check for mag wobble, and these rifles can last you for 100,000 plus rounds as long as you know what you're looking for. So we'll mosey on over to the table and throw her down and take a look at what we have and what I chose to do with this and how I changed it and how I enhanced it, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay guys, one thing you probably noticed right off the bat is this does not look like your typical everyday Romanian 1063 that you'd walk into your gun shop and pull off the rack. That's because, as you know, a lot of them come pretty rough. They don't have a very good finish on them, and they kind of come with the stock sets, the furniture that aren't that appealing. Now, a lot of people like to go ahead and change these out or refinish the current, stock configuration. They dye them and sand them down and finish them up, and they can be pretty nice. I chose to opt with the polymer furniture myself. I like how it feels, and it's a little bit lighter, and it seems to me a little bit more ergonomic. So the first thing I did right off the bat was take this and go ahead and put the Bulgarian furniture set on here. It's got the American heat shield inside, American made heat shield, stainless steel inside. Does a pretty good job of protecting your hand. Of course, I also went with the Bulgarian butt stock. They feel pretty good, and they work pretty well, and I chose to stick with the Warsaw length one because it works well for me. I guess beyond that, as far as furniture goes, recently I did put on the Magpul MOE pistol grip. It does seem to work pretty well so far. Has good stippling on it. Ergonomically, it feels pretty good in your hand, and you can get a good purchase on it. Works well, and it looks pretty good. I guess if you start down here towards the muzzle, of course there's about as many different muzzle brake or flash hider choices as there are. It almost seems like the choices are endless. I went with a Damage Industries Damage Industries muzzle brake. These rifles don't really produce that much recoil anyway, but it does tend to help you keep on target and keep the muzzle from rising and shifting while you're firing. It does pretty well. Sliding on down, since I wanted to put an optic on here and go with the red dot, I chose to go with the Ultimac full-length gas tube rail Picatinny system. Now this thing is a masterpiece. I love it. It works really well. A little bit under $100. It replaces your upper furniture, your upper handguard where the gas tube goes. It's made of aluminum. You see there it has your rail section on it. And the great thing about this setup is that I really kind of wanted to, on my red dot, I wanted it to co-witness with the sights. And this tends to be a little bit lower sitting of a system than a lot of other options, especially if you wanted to put like a sight on top of the dust cover with your sight rail here. This works really well, as you can see. See if we can get it in camera here. I was able to get just about a perfect co-witness on the sights here with the red dot. And it does work really well. I can't get it lined up here, but you get the picture. As far as red dots, I chose to go with the Bushnell TRS 25, another good low-cost option. Only around $100, or you can even get them cheaper than that now. When I first got it, I tested it out on a 12-gauge shotgun that had a rail section on top, and if it can handle that recoil and stay true and keep it zero on that, it obviously is not going to be an issue with any kind of rifle you put it on. Moving on down the line, speaking of sights, I chose to go with the Krebs Custom rear peep sight. That's the one knock that a lot of people have on AKs, is that the rear blade sights are hard to see, especially for aging eyes. But if you change it out and go ahead and put that rear aperture that's a peep, very similar to you AR-15 users, it does help a lot, and it's very nice to see through there, including the red dot reaching the front post. Other than that, I pretty much kept it simple. Of course, I put a sling on here. It's not really an extravagant style sling, but it does work. Eventually, I'll probably end up getting a 2-point bungee sling from SOE, since I really like their stuff. But so far, this rifle's worked very well for me. Only have maybe a couple thousand rounds through it. Haven't trained with it yet, but I plan to in the future. And as far as a low-cost, low-budget option, this one seems to be doing the trick so far. So, you know, just because you get a WASR or a low-end AK, as long as you look at it and inspect it and everything seems to line up properly, you can make and get a decent quality rifle if you just add your touches to it. You know, just find what works for you. You might have to experiment a little bit and with a few things, you know, that's usually the case. But once you find what you like, you'll be happy that you went out and decided to customize your AK. So hopefully, you know, this gave some folks some insight, because I learned a lot myself watching some of these videos on YouTube about a lot of different options, and there are a lot of them out there. There are a lot of good choices and ulterior ways to go, and I don't know, all you gotta do is experiment and find what you like. So this works well for me, and hopefully you can do the same to your setup. Thanks for watching.